Yes, we still have with us in the studio Mr. Jeff Ojinika, who is the National Chairman, Coalition for Change. And we also have Mr. Godson Okoye, who is the National Chairman, UDP, and a former presidential candidate. Now, let's quickly take your reaction, Mr. Ojinika. You're about to say something about the accreditation and voting process. I
said the opposition to the continuous voting accreditation system is as a result of where we're coming from. There's a lot of suspicion, there's a lot of apprehension in the air. Ordinarily, that system would have saved a lot of time for a lot of people. But if we take a retrospect as to the two previous elections in Ekiti and Osun, it didn't really give a lot of confidence that the process is going to be very credible. And secondly, and most importantly, the president's refusal to assent to the electoral bill 4 good times. And on the last, he had to give a subterfuge, a flimsy reason that it was close to election.
Well, and the bill went through after all. I mean, whether or not the president signed.
When you know that President Jonathan in 2015 signed the electoral bill 2010 as amended 48 hours to the election. So, but this our president now refused to sign almost 2 or 3 months to the election, quoting time as his major reason after refusal for 4 good times. And in each time he delays it until the 30 days expires before it's on the 30th day that he replies.
Well, he's been vetoed.
So all those tend to give this thing that they are not interested in very credible election. So when you weigh it on that background as to this process may not be free and fair, you now have to go and take extra measures that you think that can help. People suspect.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Let me clear the air. People suspect that the results of the election may be ready before the election day. The only way to avert that, to make sure that elections are not ready, because right now the voters register, you could know the figures in every polling booth, 120,000 polling booths in the country. But the only thing you know the number of voters that are registered. You also know the number of people that will collect PVCs from those places. But what you cannot guarantee is the number of people that will come out for accreditation and voting. So if you generate a result earlier than that day of election, it will not tally with the actual figure that will come out. Because you cannot guarantee that this number will come out for accreditation and this number will vote. Nobody can guarantee that. So it's to avoid a situation where results are prepared or generated before the day of election. And that's why we're insisting. People are still insisting that let people accredit. At the end of time, you know the number of people that are accredited. Whatever manipulation or whatever thing that you generate will be within the confines of the number that accredited figure, because it will not be a legal issue, a legal number, because you now know the number of people that have come out to vote.
I see your point there.
So that is actually, so that's actually, if things were just okay, that the president assented to the bill and we have a functional electoral act, the guideline is okay, and all the rest of the people wouldn't mind. But there's a whole lot of apprehension. And if we also take a retrospect as to the kind of process that happened, especially in the Osun election, where election, ended in a way, and at the end of time, they say it was telephone calls and remote control and all the rest of them changed a whole lot of things. So it made people, that's why the whole apprehension is in such a way that people want, at the end of time, finish accreditation. Let's know the figure. You enter the figure, everybody has it. And then you now go to the process of voting. You finish, and then you match it with, the figures that were accredited.
Now,
and I see, nothing can go beyond that. So that's actually, but ordinarily, if it's
let me interrupt you, sir. Now, you have talked about, the elections in Osun and Ekiti. You also made reference to Ekiti. What I recall from that election, I mean, even though the rerun, isn't a rerun now, or the continuation of the elections in Osun was a little, let me say a little opaque, let me use for lack of a better word. But the initial elections conducted in Osun and Ekiti, a lot of people did not fault INEC. What they faulted were politicians. They faulted politicians for vote buying. Those are the people that they accused. A lot of people thought that INEC did a really good job. I mean, the reviews that we heard was that INEC you know, was above board, also it seemed, from how they conducted themselves. Why is this suspicion all of a sudden beginning to trail the Electoral Commission?
No, we had a police IG then, and we also have a new IG now. The influence of the security agents in those two elections, if they were neutral, maybe the results would have been different from what we have as of today.
So you agree that it wasn't INEC?
So in the same vein, yeah, those security agencies have not changed. We're expecting a situation where maybe in the process of election, those security agents can still be used to you know, disrupt a whole lot of things and all.
So
people want to take their destiny in their hands.
Mr. Junika, let me get you straight now. It means that your suspicions are not directly on INEC. You just believe that there could be external factors that could mar the process. Is that what you're saying?
Of course.
Okay. Let's quickly go to Lagos now and take questions from my colleagues there.
Well, you know, gentlemen, it appears as though you've not moved on from that electoral act, the guidelines, because at the moment, INEC has since published it, and they've said that that's what they're going to stick with. But let me ask, let me start with Chief on this particular one. While you were in UDP, you did contest elections, but now INEC says the reason why they are coming up with this new format of centralizing this recruitment of personnel is such that they need to know who their staff are, who are they getting on board. And secondly, they're going to have 2 accreditation officers for the 8,809 registration areas. So you don't have one person manipulating the process. Doesn't that satisfy any of those curiosities that you have? Chief Okoye, yeah.
Close the song.
Can you hear me?
Well, you see, when you say they decentralize it, we're not saying you cannot work out the modalities for how you get your staff. What we're saying is, whatever it is you do, you let the stakeholders know. You call the parties. We are going to use in XYZ state this number of staff, and then across the country, we're going to deploy this number of ad hoc, and this is our criteria for choosing them. And these are the things we need from them. And these are the input that we want to use, just to let you know. Okay, we're going into election, and then INEC is going to coordinate the people that are in the security apparatus, the police people, the civil defense that will be involved. As it is, in a normal situation, that we are all working in tandem for the good of the country, why is it rocket science to say, political party leaders, these are the number of policemen that will be used for this election? For instance, we are going to use 50,000 policemen, and in Osun State, we're going to deploy 20. In Edo State, we're going to deploy 150. And these are the people that will go there. These are their phone numbers. This is the person that will be in charge. But you see, when everything is shrouded in secrecy, it creates a lot of room for doubt and suspicion. This is what we're saying. And that's something with this recruitment of ad-hoc staff. Are they recruiting for themselves, or are they recruiting for the
all right, if I could follow up on your response
about transparency we're talking about.
Concerning security, why is it important that they tell you the amount of policemen who will be deployed to each state?
Yeah, but we need to know. We need to know. Because, okay, you come to a situation where somebody, you've had fake policemen being arrested in different places. What if somebody just makes a uniform and appears at the polling unit and says he's an INEC star, or he's from INEC, and then how do you verify that? First, he's wearing a uniform and he's carrying a gun. But if you have a checklist, you have the whole number of policemen that they are deploying in a place, and they're there to monitor it, and they're saying, okay, in Ekiti, we have this number of policemen, and these are their phone numbers, and this is the person that is in charge. If you're in doubt, call so and so person. Is Mr. Isaac Oboro part of your staff, for instance? Is he part of those that will conduct this election? So that you will take care of the issue of fake people appearing to be the policemen that will be there. And then either intimidate voters or intimidate INEC staff in the end. So what we are saying is that these things need to be clear. And if we are all working towards making the electoral process better and more transparent, this thing should be open.
All right, let me flip to Mr. Junika. All right.
If you're going to deploy...
Yeah, Chief, my apologies. I need to flip to Mr. Ojenika on this particular one. Now, when you raise concerns about this as well, but if political parties are going to have party agents in those particular areas, why should this be some sort of concern, since they will be there to monitor the coalition as well?
No, it's a part of concern in the sense that, and it's also in compliance to the requirements of the Electoral Act, because the Electoral Act has provided how the security apparatus will work. The security apparatus will work taking instructions from the officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission. The police officer sent to a booth must take instruction from the presiding officer or the RO in that particular booth.